What's good, ladies and gentlemen? If you can hear the sound of my voice, that means you are locked into another episode of the Casual Fridays podcast here on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel. I'm Jeff J. That is Shawn with a W, and you are locked in to Casual Knicks Talk, analytics, eye test. The intersection is where they meet, and they just stand there and wave each other so that they go and they don't know the right of way, but we're going to figure out the right way. We're talking about the week that was and the week that is to come. Shout out to everybody that's here live. Shout out to the replay gang. Shout out to anybody who's a Knicks fan out there. We're here for you, and we're here to talk. Shawn, how you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm no longer feeling tired after doing a post-game show that ended at 2:55 a.m. Eastern and having to work the next day. But I am feeling good. The vibes, I would say, are refreshing. That's the word I would use. They're refreshing. And we'll get into why the vibes are refreshing. How are you doing today, sir?
Yo, I'm feeling great, man. I feel like I've been on the West Coast road trip with these guys. Like the last couple of weeks have been super hectic between watching West Coast ball, working late, going to events. Like this first 2 weeks of March have been super hectic. Good hectic, but super hectic nonetheless. And I'm kind of like you where I feel like I've had to catch up on sleep and try to catch sleep before fatigue catches me. And I've won some battles and I've lost some battles. Naps do a hell of a lot of good work for me, especially around this time. But, doing the things we love and enjoying ourselves. So it's been cool, man. It's been good. It's been spicy. I'll say the vibes are spicy, right? And they haven't been spicy like that around these parts in a very long time. And let's get to it. Some of the biggest takeaways from this week, and really the biggest takeaway, probably even bigger than the game winner, the buzzer beater, I'd say we haven't seen a buzzer beater from the Knicks like that in probably years, where it's like buzzer beater to end the game. I saw somebody with a list of the Knicks buzzer beaters. I can't remember what the last one was, but I feel like it hasn't happened in a while.
The last one was the RJ game.
Oh, against the Celtics in the Garden.
Celtics. That was it. That was the last one. Yep.
And that was what, 3 years ago?
That was 2022. Yep. 3 seasons ago.
3 years ago. So as a fan of this team where we've been on the other side of that buzzer beater too often for me to count or for me to even remember because I probably blacked it out, it was really dope. That was probably, for me, in my top 5 games of the year. Top 5 games of the year, just for the level of competition, the back and forth, lead changes, the circumstances surrounding it, and the way that it ended. It was cinema. And if you told me we was going to get cinema from Knicks Blazers in March, I would have thought you were on controlled substances, but it was really dope. And let's get to it. Let's get to why the vibes and the tension and the spotlight was a little bit brighter on that game. The morning of the game, so that Wednesday morning is when Mikal Bridges spoke to the media, spoken to the beat writers, and they asked them the question that they've been asking the rest of the players for the whole season and talking about the minutes. They wanted to get Mikal's perspective on the minutes. And he gave his quote, which basically said, hey, we do have a bench that we encourage Tibbs to. I encourage Tibbs to like play the bench and leave guys out there more. It does take a toll on the body. And he pretty much gave credence to the minutes police. It was to the point where, you thought he was Officer Torres and Moreno from New York Undercover, where it was like, we didn't know you was a part of the Po9, the minutes Po9, but he did give a take on it. And I want to pull up his quote. I want to pull up his quote, Shawn, so that I don't get it. Yes. I don't get it twisted, because I don't want to start equivocating or
We want to make sure we get it right.
Yes, exactly. Let me see. Let me get to this real quick.
While you
Pull
pull
up.
that up, I'll just give a shout out to everyone in the chat, gang. We will get to your super chats. We'll get to your regular chats. So shout out to all of y'all.
Shout out to Andrew Claudio GMAC tapping in the building. What's good? What's going on? All right. So where we at? Here's the quote. When they asked him about the minutes, he said, I'm on that side because I'm a starter and I play a lot of minutes. Sometimes it's not fun on the body. And this is in regards to the question of saying that the media narrative that Thibodeau plays as starter is fair, right? Mm-hmm. And he says, sometimes it's not fun in the body, but you want that as a coach. But also talk to him a little bit, knowing that we've got a good enough team where our bench guys can come in and we don't need to play 48, 47. We got a lot of good guys on this team that can take away the minutes, which helps the defense, helps the offense, helps tired bodies being out there and giving up all these points. It helps us keeping fresh bodies out there. And he said, when asked if he received good feedback when he brought up the topic, Bridges said, yeah, no, he's not arguing about it. Sometimes I think he just gets in his ways and he gets locked in and just wants to keep the guy out there. Sometimes you'll have to tell him, like Landry, for example, or somebody, keep them out there. They're playing well. Right. From there, they asked Tibbs in the press conference about this conversation. And Tibbs says, we didn't really have a conversation. We never had a conversation about it. So this gets into a landscape where if I'm not lying, and you're not lying, who's lying? Somebody's lying. Somebody's fronting. Somebody is not telling the whole truth. And then Tibbs went into his minutes breakdown where he said Jalen plays 35. He's 20 or 21st in average minutes. Cat plays less than Jalen. He's like 25. And he gave his rationale pretty much saying he matches up. He plays matchups. So a lot of the offense is being generated by wings in the league. They're wings. So like the Tatum or LeBron is out there. You out there with them. And when they sit, you're going to sit. And that's how it is. And he even, mentioned, which was true, that Bridges' minutes have gone down. They've gone down over the last, where he hasn't been playing as much over the last 10, which was true. So you kind of got that different perspective. The Bridges thing caught fire because this was the first time someone prominent on the team gave any type of credence to the minutes police. He offered state evidence to the minutes police. This is the first time we've had a willing witness to minutes policing by the starters. And it got even hotter when Tibbs was like, well, we never had a conversation. So now that led to rampant speculation and all of that. Breen said that they had a conversation after the press conference, Tibbs press conference, where they cleared the air. Shout out to Ian Begley, who reported it was a productive meeting. And clearly it was, because they went out there and Tibbs was in his coaching bag and Mikal was in his scoring bag, hit the game winner, and all will be well. So, Shawn, let me ask you, what did you make of this whole situation?
I think the first thing that what you said just a while ago is the biggest takeaway for me, that this is the first time that one of Tibbs' prominent players, listen, maybe there was like an 11th man who said something on the internet 10 years ago, whatever, but this is the first time one of his main rotation players has put his name that stood on business about the concern of Tom Thibodeau and his rotations, which is a scarlet letter that has followed him throughout his entire career. Joakim Noah ain't say this. Luol Deng, who's the poster child for Tibbs running players into the ground, that's got the bus. He never said anything. Derrick Rose, who tore his ACL because he was in a game that should have been over, never said anything. Jimmy Butler never said anything. Karl-Anthony Towns never said anything. Andrew Wiggins never said anything. Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, Josh Hart. Like, none of the major guys on any of these Tibbs teams have ever said anything. And even though there are players that will say that never played for Tibbs will say, I'll never play for Tibbs and his minutes, whatever. None of his players, current or former, never said anything until now.
Right.
And that to me is like the biggest takeaway. It's like now it's a chink in the armor of the Tom Thibodeau reputation. Now,
that was already there, right? Like if we were going to be fair, it was a dent that's been hammered and continue to get hammered by the media. They'll add a new dent even if they see you banged out the old ones. They'll make sure that dent remains. But this is probably, to your analogy, the first time one of his prominent players openly put that dent in the same place.
Absolutely. This is like you made the joke about the minutes please. He's Mikal Bridges is Jay Reef. I'm in too deep. Like he's the mole, right?
Not Mekhi Phife.
Not Mekhi.
Not Mekhi Phife.
You're a clown. But listen, and the other thing I would say is this now puts the pressure on Tom Thibodeau to win, because as I said this during we addressed it during the post-game show on Wednesday night / Thursday morning, that, playing your starters a lot of minutes to try to win every game is cool when it's 2021 and you're just trying to you're trying to establish a culture, set an identity, or what have you. That's cool. Now it's time to win. Now it's time to do what you can to win. Shout out Jason Concepcion, who said it after the Celtics game on the post game. He said, if it wasn't for relationships, Tibbs' seat would be hot, and it needs to be hot. I'm not necessarily saying that he should be on the hot seat. I'm not going to put someone who's the head coach of a 42-23 team on the hot seat. But at the same time, the goalposts have moved. The expectations have changed. It's time to win. And guess what? We can't blame the players anymore. We can't blame Julius Randle anymore, or RJ Barrett, or Alfred Payton, or Kemba Walker, or Evan Fournier, or Reggie Bullock, or Nerlens Noel, or all those other players that many people point to whenever you had the audacity to intimate that maybe the coach do things differently. And they will say, well, it's the players. Well, guess what? All those players that we love to point fingers to, Cam Reddish, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, whoever, like, they're all gone. We have our starting lineup has not one, but 2 all-star starters. One guy who finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year. Another guy who arguably could be the best defensive player in the league. And a glue guy that will do all the hard work and the dirty work and not bitch and complain about shots. We're here now. Tom, it is now your job to get everything out of this team that you have. And the fact that, again, a player for the first time has put his name on it, this is shining a very, very bright spotlight on Tibbs, and I'm curious to see how he responds.
Word. And I had a similar perspective that Jamal Crawford and Mike Breen had when they openly spoke about it during the post game. I mean, during the play-by-play of Knicks Blazers. The biggest mark you could put on Mikal is normally that type of talk is kept in-house. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you had that conversation, we shouldn't have known about it. The conversation itself wasn't wrong.
Yes.
Maybe putting us into the group chat was the problem.
Yes,
right?
Don't let it leave the group chat. Got to stay in the group chat.
Right, it's got to stay in the group chat. Now, what I had a problem with was the reception that some on the internet were giving Mikal when he mentioned this. As if, if you trade 5 first-round picks for a dude, I'm sorry, I don't care what his tenure is. I don't care what his stature is. If you invested equity into an asset like when we're talking about players, they do have a say in what the hell goes on. They do have a say. It does seem like he hasn't been the happiest person. It does seem like he's gone through his struggles and it might be affecting him, and his boys are on the team. So, they're hearing about it too. I think we remove the humanity from sports too effortlessly, as if you never had a bad day at work and someone had to hear about it, or you might not be at your best. And let's look at it from another perspective. You get traded to this team. You see the makeup. Mikal's been in this league a minute. He already knew if things don't go right, I'm public enemy number one because of them damn 5 picks. I didn't ask to be traded for 5 picks.
Nope.
But you are now public enemy number one. Melo knew anything that happened with the team because of the haul they traded for him. He knew he was public enemy number one. That's why I always give him credit for keeping it professional, even when there was times where we were all saying like, nah, you getting roasted and this ain't on you. This part is not on you. And you just like, you the perfect citizen, right? You're the model citizen. And we were even saying, you got to say something.
Yes.
That's where you see with a guy like him, he was going to keep it professional no matter what. He wasn't going to say nothing, but he also knew I'm coming in as a superstar, and this is the price of doing business. Mikal probably said, yo, I wouldn't probably even think I commanded that type of haul, but y'all traded it for me. So now I'm going to be the dartboard for any type of slander that goes on if the Knicks aren't doing well. And especially if I'm not performing well, then yeah, but I got to do this. Then y'all want me to be the point of attack defender. All right, I'll be that. But now I got to make up for 2 guys on the team who play below the average of what we're of the sum of our defensive makeup for whatever reasons they do. And it is what it is. So I got to carry this certain load. I'm getting sat in fourth quarters. I'm having off games, but it feels like when other folks is having off games, the energy isn't the same. For benching, for scheming in the offense and the defense, it's not the same. So now I'm put in a position where I either just got to shut up about it or I can say something. And the say something part is the one where universally I understand where folks are like, all right, that's not what you may want to do. Furthermore, whoever's not being forthcoming about whether or not they spoke about it, that's a mark on you. That's a mark on your character. That's a mark on who you are. That's not to say that people will always label you as something, but that is a mark. And that's something that you got to stand up and be a man about and admit. Now, one thing I was thinking about, Shawn, you tell me what you think about this. My interpretation on what a conversation is might be different than yours.
Yo, I'm glad you said this.
Go, keep going.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, some people, a conversation is, we had a back and forth. Some people, conversation is, I told you this, you acknowledge it. Some people, conversation is, you said something to me, I heard you, I didn't respond, whatever. Like, and I said to say, because to your point, we're like, someone's lying. Like, do I believe that Tom Thibodeau and Mikal Bridges had a sit down for 5 minutes to discuss this? I don't think that happened. But I have a hard time believing that Tom Thibodeau never heard this from Mikal Bridges at all until March 12th, 2025. That I will say. So Tom can say, we didn't have a conversation about it. And by the dictionary definition of conversation, he's telling the truth and whatever. But do you believe, you, Jeff, you, Andrew, you, John, you, people in the chat, do you believe that no one ever said anything to Tom at all? At all? That for me might be a slight bridge too far. It's not the end of the world, but like, because I think people are just like, yeah, see, Mikal's lying. See, just Tip said so. It's like, well,
Tibbs seems like the person when you have a conversation, you know you're having a conversation with Tibbs because he thinks a conversation and he's not wrong. That's the thing.
He's not wrong.
You step into my office, we sit down, we talk, we have a dialogue. He talks to people all the time. He may not consider that a conversation. He probably gives out a lot of commands. He probably doesn't consider that a conversation because I speak, you listen, and we go. Now, if I was like, hey, Shawn, man, y'all might have to play Landry more. We play too much. Like we can sit a little bit longer. Like I'll do the minutes, but if they're cooking, just leave them out. All right, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I can see that. I'm gonna see. That's not a sit down conversation, but we talked about it. That's why I wish someone in the media scrum would have said, so have y'all never talked about minutes at all? The follow-up. Like, have you and Mikal never exchanged words at all about playing time or minutes or bench distribution or whatever? Like, frame it in a way that you put him on the spot to say, or that he understands clearly, because I don't want to say put him on the spot because you don't got to depose the dude, you know what I mean? But frame it in a way where you're clearly saying, have you never heard this from him before? And if he says no, then we got a problem.
Yes.
Then we got a problem because it seems like either Mikal don't know what he said, or he's not telling the truth, right? Or he's lying. And that to me is a bigger problem than what he said, because
absolutely,
I don't think he said anything that was wrong. And it gets me tight when we have this conversation about players openly talking about the disputes or whatever, dispute being a harsher word, but just like differences of opinion that they may have with the coach, right? And I know Josh Hart does it all the time and he's playful with it or whatever, but I'm sure there be some truth sometimes. But the fact is now Josh be talking, Josh just be chatting is like baseline for whenever he says something. And even with that, some of his quotes still get picked up. And then magically they go away because the opposite happens. But I don't feel like what he said was wrong. Like wrong. No. And you tell me what you think, Shawn. I don't think that he dissed Tibbs. I know folks were harping on he's set in his ways. Yo, what have folks been saying for the past 20 years of the history of his coaching? That's one thing that's excellent about him, and that could be a challenge about him, is that he's principled.
Yes.
How many conversations you had with your friend? Oh, you know how he is. You know how she is. Mm-hmm. That's not a diss.
They are.
Why is it not a diss? Because you know how they are. That's not a diss. So I don't know. I get it. You didn't want it to get out, but I think what happened on the court matters a hell of a lot more than all the chatting that was going on.
It's only a diss if you think that may reflect poorly on someone that you like. Then you say it's a diss, but it's like, well, it's the truth. I remember seeing this story about this guy. He said, this was years ago. He's grown now, but he was a kid. He was in school. I think it was like high school, junior high school. He's in school, and someone went up to him and said something very, very mean and nasty about his sister. And he punched the kid in the face, got in a fight. Kid goes to the principal's office. He said, the principal says, you're suspended. Calls the father, and hey, he's like, and principal tells him what happened, and tells the father, is like, so why are you calling me? He's like, well, we don't want to know. It's like, well, all right, what happened, right? So he's like, well, you gotta come get your son. So comes to get his son and picks him up, and just goes and just leaves. And the kid was like, why didn't you fight for me? Why am I being suspended? Why am I being suspended? Like, why didn't you fight for me? And his father was like, no, I'm actually proud that you did it. He's like, well, if you're proud for me, why didn't you fight for me? He's like, well, sometimes in life, doing the right thing, there are consequences of doing the right thing. Like, if I went in there and fought for you to not be suspended, you'll go through life thinking, oh, I can do whatever I want and there's no consequence. That's not how life is. Whether Mikal, people are saying that was wrong for Mikal to say something because of the culture of the Knicks set where no one says anything. I as someone who is natural rabble rouser, I don't really subscribe to that, but I understand it. But what I will say is Mikal knew what he was doing and he was willing to do that, and he understood the potential consequences of doing it. And that I will commend. Like, he's not going to be quiet just for the sense to be quiet. And he said to himself, he made a calculated decision of saying, okay, if I want something to change, whatever I've done, and to listen, we don't know what he did or didn't do behind the scenes, but whatever has been done to this point is not working. I'm going to go about it this way. So while it is wrong for him to do that, is it worth it? Well, listen, if that game doesn't go into overtime, no one plays more than 38 minutes against Portland. Quiet as kept. So, and also someone brought it up. I think it was either Benji or Macri on the Patreon pod. If you don't subscribe to the Patreon pod, you should. Mikal played of Landry and campaign in Phoenix, so he's probably like, hey, these guys are like, whether he's right or wrong or indifferent, these guys are pretty good. I think they should play a little bit more. And like, so that personal connection with these guys also plays a role. Whereas like, and even Benji said it on that same Patreon pod, there was a time period where campaign just stopped playing fourth quarters. And it's like, why? And Jalen Brunson's playing entire second halves, right? And I say that to say because I'm gonna put a chat up here from JG. He says that Tibbs' minutes talk is so old. Well, Tibbs needs to do something about it. And as I said it on Casual Friday a few weeks ago with you. Stop telling me the minutes don't matter. It is insulting my intelligence when you tell me the minutes don't matter. The minutes talk can go away if it stops being a talking point, because shout out to Benji again. He said, if minutes didn't matter, everyone will play 48 minutes a game. But clearly we have seen that in order to achieve peak performance, you need rest. So it matters. And guess what? Because the head coach didn't do anything about it, here we are.
You are not incorrect in that. You're not incorrect in that. And like I said, what mattered was on the court to me way more than off. And shout out to Schwinny Poo. He had pointed out in that Bondi article where Bridges said, I think there's a lot more I can still show in parentheses or brackets. I think that goes in with it a lot. Things that are systematic or schemes offensively and stuff, just trying to find the right situations and trying to make the right read every chance I get. And he had pointed that out as something that he thought was more interesting than even the minutes talk, because Mikal's now talking about his role. And once again, I feel him where he says, where it's implying, the implication is, hey, I'm doing all of this work. You have me commanding all this work on the defensive end, and it feels like I haven't been able to get into a rhythm. Y'all projected me as a third scorer. What are we doing to like get me going? And honestly, I don't see that as selfish, because once again, it isn't nothing that we didn't project when he got on this squad. So if he does want something, an expanded role on offense, I think even with that game, you saw he is capable of doing it, and diversifying the offense can maximize the level of talent on his team. And this is something that's also been a topic of conversation that I've been critical of, is where I do think that the Knicks have enough talent to win. I don't think that they've been maximized as well as they can be. And that just goes into the schematics of things. I do not think, I'm sorry, maybe I'm a traditionalist, I'm a constitutionalist. I don't think that Precious Achiuwa and Hart and Mitchell Robinson should ever share court time. At worst, you should have one person who isn't going to shoot from three or stretch the floor on the court as at all times, unless they do something extremely well, like a Mitchell Robinson, who's an exceptional defender, is a demon on both sides of the glass, and is a scary sight in the dunker spot. who shifts the offense, who sets screens, which is a necessary, vital skill. When you're elite at setting screens, you open everything up. So someone like him, yes. When you have Hart out there who has the capacity to shoot, sometimes he doesn't. Shout out to PJ Tucker, because ever since PJ Tucker got on this team, that man been shooting more. So he's like the avatar for Knicks Twitter, and Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns have been telling this man to shoot. So he's the ultimate encourager for this man to shoot now. I just think there's things that they can do that can expand the offense, that can maximize the personnel that they currently have. And I don't see that at times. I saw it in Portland because necessity is the mother of invention. And when they needed that offense, when they needed to find ways to win without Brunson, they do it. Now the question is, can you port that to the full healthy team and be able to devise schemes that allow you to make the most of the talent that you have on the team?
No, I mean, listen, it's about, you have to be able to squeeze. You have to, the best coaches, the best organizations put their players in the best position to succeed. And listen, Tom Thibodeau probably feels that this is, and listen, this is not like a shit on Tibbs session. And because I know they're going to be the anti-Tibbs crowd, the Tibbs haters. Some of them are going to clip this and be like, see, I told you. Let's reset here. Like, I think Tom Thibodeau is a very good coach.
100%.
I think he catches a lot of BS from people. I think, like, shout out 100%. To you, Channing Frye, for that bullshit that you were spitting out the other day. I see you. Once a Nick, always a Nick, but that was bullshit. But as I said earlier, now it's about winning the whole fucking thing. Excuse my French. This franchise has not won a championship since 1973. We haven't sniffed. We have not been able to call ourselves championship contenders realistically since, some people say 2013. I never thought that team was winning the title since the year 2000. Right? The expectations have changed. And shout out to, I forget who told me this years ago, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. So you just can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting it to achieve the results that you haven't achieved yet, that you're not achieving, because that is the definition of insanity. So at the end of the day, what are we, like, what is the goal? Like, is the goal to beat the Washington Wizards, or is the goal to beat the Boston Celtics in May? And everything that we do from a training camp through the end of April and in May and June leads up to that point where, all right, it is game 5 or 6 against Boston or whoever. Have we done everything to put ourselves in the best position to succeed? And if you're not doing it for reasons, then I'm going to look at you sideways. And if you continue to not do, like, Tom Thibodeau always says this is his dream job. Like, Jonathan Macri, who is the biggest Tibbs defender on this platform, said, unless they have a strong showing against Boston in round 2, Tibbs is going to get fired. Which I don't even think he was going that far. I wasn't even prepared to go that far. Because I'm like, listen, if they lose to the world champions in 6 games and it doesn't look like they get beat by 20, like, he'll probably keep his job. But, like, Tom, this is your dream job. Are you prepared to lose your dream job because of your ways and your principles? Like, do you really want to look good and lose rather than look bad and win? Because, again, we don't have barely above replacement players to blame, or COVID, or empty gyms, or Julius Randle having a fit, or Reggie
Julius Randle's ankle.
Yeah, or Reggie Bullock getting called for travel on a 301 fast break. We don't got any of that no more, right? Like, this team is good. This team was going to win 50 games easily. They still might win 50. So I just think that, listen, we may look back on this moment 2 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, as this is the day everything changed. Mm-hmm. We may look back on it because I think someone said in the chat, the RJ buzzer beater, that literally turned around the Celtics season and they ended up going to the finals. And partially because Ime Udoka, he said it. He's like, he kept telling them, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this. And Tatum and Brown and those guys kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And guess what? Then they stopped doing it and they became better. So at the end of like I said, we may look back on this day, this may be the day that everything changed. I just say to say, look, man, I'm not going to kill Mikal Bridges over it. I don't think it's the biggest deal, but this is a fork in the road, and I'm curious to see how the team responds.
I'm happy that they spoke after the press conference because that was like a sit down. I don't think they're the type of personalities. Like I don't have any insider information or anything like that but from what I've heard, I don't think that they've been clashing personalities. I don't think that I think that they got love for each other, but it probably was Mikal's the new kid in the class that's like, oh yeah, you don't talk to the professor. You don't do that to the professor. Like you don't go to the PTA meeting and talk about the professor. You got to talk to the professor. Like it's just not what we do, right? It's just not what we do. But at the same time, he's a grown ass man and he could do what he wants. And I still like I said, I think locker room etiquette dictates that certain things be kept in-house. Now, if they had a conversation and that conversation was deemed 4 walls, meaning it stays here, and he went and spoke on it, that's a violation. That's a violation. Even if by accident or intentional, that's a violation. And you gotta apologize and whatnot. Now, if he came out there and roasted Tibbs, I would have said that he was wrong. Straight up. Like if he would have like been openly disparaging him and like sounding like these talking heads that be getting on him, I would have been like, yeah, you may not want to put the target on his back, especially with the schedule and how your team actually is. I wouldn't expect that. At the same time, Shawn, I've also been a part of this fan base long enough and been rooting for this team long enough that I remember the team turmoil headlines in the New York Daily News when anonymous folks were leaking stuff to the reporters about multiple things on this team, multiple things and issues that were arising on the team. The fact that you don't, especially in this era, years later with social media and all types of digital communication and ways to communicate in general, that you don't hear this stuff. And that's like the only piece of resistance that you've heard in this locker room in the Thibodeau era. That's come from somebody significant. When I mean it's like a starter and whatnot, I think it says a lot. I think they've had the healthiest locker room they've had in a minute, and this sorted itself out. Like, yo, I'm sure if I was a fly on the wall, I'd be like, yo, Tim, so he's talked about it. We'd have a conversation, but we spoke. We didn't sit down and talk about it. I didn't know, but we've talked about it. All right, so let's talk about it. And then they talked about it and was like, all right, because I don't think what he said was crazy. I think he was like, yo, when somebody's out there and they're cooking, ride it out a little bit more. And then if it becomes untenable, put us in. Let's get to Parrish. Thank you, Parrish, for the super chat. Curious, so I must ask, have any Tibbs guys that he head coached have a ring? Also, did Eddie have long, healthy careers? I don't know, so I'm asking. I'd say Joakim Noah had a long, healthy career. Taj Gibson is still in the league. Taj Gibson is still in the league. Look at the careers of Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly. Hell, Jericho Sims is in the Milwaukee getting significant run right now. He's in a rotation. Cat, Jimmy Butler, Wiggins.
Like, well, and he says, well, they're
everyone a ring, but
no, but I mean, well, one, I don't. In Paris, you can clarify. You don't have to pay for a super chat. Just put it in the chat. Like, what does the Tibbs guys coaching have a ring have to do with anything? Like, do their opinions matter less because they have not won a championship? Like, I think let's be careful. Let's be careful not lean into ring culture and say rings justify everything, right? Because a team that he did not head coach, but he's a coach of, the 08 Celtics walk around like they won 5 championships in 3 years because they won once in 2008 and think they have license to say anything they want. I think, yes, a lot of guys had long, healthy careers. Players get injured in the NBA. all the time. Like, and this is why I say, like, that's why I'm very careful about how I don't want to give the
Wiggins,
too much.
I'm sorry. Wiggins did get a ring with the 2022
Wiggins did
Warriors.
get a ring.
That's true.
So Parrish, that your whole your whole thing is moot. Get it out of here. But you don't want to do that, right? So I think there are times where, like, Tibbs sometimes gets beat with this stick too much. He has brought on himself, but I think sometimes we go too far. Like Parrish, and again, thank you for the super chat. It seems like what you're doing, you have an experiment with the end in mind. It's like, this is my story, so I will now find things to fit this story in this narrative. So it's like, has any coach have a ring? Like, I didn't have any career. And you said, I don't know, so I'm asking. But there's a reason why you're asking. Like, Google is free. Bing is free. You can look this up. So I understand, like, I see where you're coming from, but let's be careful on like, we don't want to start experiments with the end in mind.
Yeah, and I guess folks is asking if you mean by Tibbs guys like how Josh Hart is a Tibbs guy. I mean, if you got coached by him, like you were a guy at some point. I think you were a guy at some point. So, but yeah, man, I mean, look, Tibbs is a successful coach. He's a successful historic coach, whether people want to agree or not. The facts are the facts. He's been out there. He's shown his proof of concept. And I think the fact that the way he's coaching works for the most part in today's NBA, I think that says, I mean, the proof, look at the squads, look at the records, look at whatever. Look at it. It's worked. It's worked. Is it the most effective? That's a debate. But it's worked.
Worked for what? Like, what do you mean worked?
That it's successful in today's NBA.
What is your definition of success in today's NBA?
Okay, Giannis. What is failure? What is failure? What is failure? It is not failure.
What
is failure?
What I asked that is because, like,
I got you.
Yeah.
It's enough to win 50 plus games. It's enough to get you in the second round. So my definition of success is that you can contend. Winning, only one team wins, right? But if you could say, like, if we get Tom Thibodeau, he could take you from lottery team to a contending team. Like, you know how, like, there's some coaches who they get during the tanking years, and then once they start to see daylight, you move them to the side and you get somebody else. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need to be a bridge coach. He can be the complete bridge. Now, does he have the exit? Is the exit attached to it? Like, will that bridge get you to the exit that you want to get to? Like, or is it just taking you on the same road, right? Like, that's what you gotta ask. But I'm just saying, overall, if it wasn't successful, he wouldn't be here.
No, yes. So that I agree with. Like, Tom Thibodeau has more, like, I'm actually looking at this right now. Tom Thibodeau has more wins than Steve Kerr, Stan Van Gundy, Rudy Tomjanovich, Mike Budenholzer, like, good coaches, right? Like, good coaches. I guess when I say, does it work, it's like, it works to a point, but for all that
but it
stuff
does work.
But again, is the goal to win 50 games and get to round 2, or is the goal to win a championship? So,
right.
Like,
the goal is to win a championship. So by virtue of him not winning a championship as a head coach with his system, if that's the definition, if that's the standard, then he doesn't meet the standard. But as we know, success is a spectrum.
Yes.
Success is, I'm just saying, can he be more adaptable? Yes. Can he change certain aspects to maximize what the principles that he have? I think his principles are winning principles. I think they're like principles like integrity, intensity, intelligence, resilience. Like, you know, these are things that will never go out of style. They're classic. I think he has certain classic principles that won't go out of style. How you apply it schematically is where we can have that conversation about how effective it is. But it is effective. It's effective enough, right? It's effective enough that it could get you there. Where he needs to adapt is to go to the next level. Yeah. And the adaptability has been one of the major questions.
Yes. The reason I say that, the reason why I push back on that is because you're right. Like, he has been successful, right? Because to your point, his coaching methods have been effective. What I would say is at some point you have to like now also for his effectiveness, he's made one conference final and he lost 4-1 and he was the 1 seed. Now, they lost to the Heatles, which is nothing to cry home about, but he's made one conference final and he won one game. I think it was game 1 and he lost 4 in a row. Now, because someone has never won the championship doesn't mean they can never win the championship.
Right.
And I say this all the time. There are coaches, like, you're not going to tell me Mike Malone's a great, all-time great coach, or Frank Vogel, or Mike Budenholzer, and they have NBA championships. Now, Buds is an interesting comp because he is the anti-Tibbs in the sense that in the playoffs, he wouldn't play his guys enough. He, like, if Giannis is playing 36 minutes a game in the regular season, he's playing 36 minutes a game in the playoffs. And reporters would ask him about it, and they'd be like, his retort was always like, got to keep these guys fresh. Got to keep these guys fresh. Got to keep these guys fresh. And the response was like, dude, you keeping him fresh. And then guess what? He has way more time the rest when he gets eliminated in May. Like, and then the funny thing is, in that 2021 season, Bud started to play his stars a little bit more. Now, is that the reason why they won the championship? I'm not going to say that. But to your point, the adaptability was there. It was the ability to change, the ability, because you have to have principles. You have to have methods. You have to have a baseline. Like, Spoelstra has a baseline. Steve Kerr has a baseline. Pop has a baseline. But you have to be willing to adapt. Someone in the chat, I think it was JG, was talking about, like, why are we prioritizing minutes over putting the best players on the floor? And I'm like, listen, Greg Popovich won the 2014 championship, and nobody on that team played more than 29 minutes a game. And I dare you to tell me that Tom Thibodeau is a better coach than Greg Popovich. Now, I say that to say there has to be some sort of adaptability, like, because to win 4 rounds in the playoffs, you're going to face 4 different teams who do not always play the same way. And if you just keep doing the same thing, because you've done it all year, you may find, again, what's the definition of insanity? So that's why I brought the success thing. Like, you're right. He is successful, but now we need and want greater success. Right. And hopefully he can do what's necessary for us to take us there.
100%. Parrish drops another super chat. Parrish is a young 62-year-old. I'm not trolling. So I don't know if I don't think I said you was trolling. I don't know if Shawn said you was trolling, but
I know I don't think you said you were trolling. It's just I don't think we said you were trolling, but it was like there's a word for it. I can't think of it right now, but I was just like
instigating.
No, it's not instigating. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think you were trolling. Like, trust me, there are people who are trolls all the time. I don't think you're one of them. But I would just say, like, I think what I'm saying is, if you took it as me calling you saying you were trolling, I apologize. The way I interpreted it was that you're like, when we said, well, none of these Tibbs guys have ever said anything over it, and you're like, well, have they ever won a ring? And to me, my pushback was like, well, I don't think that matters. I don't think necessarily winning a ring gives you the right to say more, and not winning a ring gives you the right to say less. That's all.
Right. And so, like, it was like a leading question, almost like where you begin with the end in mind and blah blah blah. Yeah. I don't think, unless my memory is shot, which, flip a coin. I don't think we should.
And I'll say this from the picture I see: if you are 62 years old, God bless you, look good. So shout out to you.
Facts, 1,000%. Before we get into some more of the super chats, bro, when I tell you I had to scream internally on that last shot, I was ready to wake up the world. My daughter was fast asleep. She was gonna have to stay up until 5 o'clock. Like, I had to hold. I was so hyped when this man hit the shot. Like, this is why I say the Knicks are the greatest anime in the NBA. It's nothing but sagas, bro. One saga ends, another saga begins. The Bridges Minute saga is on right now and popping. We were in the it's a saga within a saga, because we have the JB injury saga, the ankle saga, where this team is going to have to win games without him. Now we got the mini saga with Mikal in the minutes, twists and turns going on. It had to be him. It had to be him. And I am glad that they pulled out that win. Shout out to the last 2 minutes report that said that he did not travel.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
Even if he did.
If he did that on the basketball court, I'm calling travel every single time.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to shoot for that. We're going to have to shoot for that.
Like, people's at me, like, the 2 minute report said, if you're bobbling the ball, you take 2 steps. But then again, this is the league where the gather and
yeah. Once that gather shit don't work on the court on street ball. That gather shit don't be there. You know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Maybe do that indoors. You definitely can't do that outdoors. But yeah, bro, that shot, the boldness, and what's even spookier than the shot. Shout out to Macri who found the stat that the game with the most lead changes in NBA history was Nets Hawks that ended on a Mikal game winner to end the game at 114 or 113. It would have been even crazier if it was an actual buzzer beater, but he hit the game winning shot with like 7 seconds to go. And in this one, it was the buzzer beater. Same score, one less possession. Top 2 possessions were ended by Mikal Bridges. You couldn't script this any better. If you scripted this, I would have said this seems like contrived. I ain't nobody gonna believe this.
Knicks Blazers low-key had a nominee for Game of the Year. And I want to shout out Danny Meringue, who on the pregame show, everything he said came to fruition. Like, if you don't I actually thought we were gonna lose. He was like, because when he said like we're a switch everything team, I was like, oh boy,
red flag.
He's like, and it was like, listen, if you don't bring the effort and intensity, they will punch you in the face. And I was like, oh, this team loves to start. Oh my goodness. So I was prepared for a loss. Like you, I almost woke up my family. I said, I let out a big woo, and I remember, no, do not wake these people up. So I'm with you. And by the way, this saga replaced the previous saga, which was the Josh Hart shoot the effing ball saga. But it looks like that saga has been put to the side. Shout out PJ Tucker.
Yo, for real. So they've won 2 in a row. Something that I've noticed. And if you follow the good folks over at Knicks Film School, you'll get a lot of great insight like this. It's only been 7 games, but the Knicks are top 3 in defensive rating over that 7 games. Guess what happened 7 games ago? The Block Ness monster returned from the lagoon off of his ranch with his 85,000 dogs and pickup truck. He's returned and he's made a difference. He's made a change. And I feel like everyone has stepped it up defensively. Now that you know that you got an anchor there, they're able to play the offense-defense game a lot better, especially in the final seconds. And I'm happy because he is, at this point, Mitchell Robinson is the last vestige of the We Hear Knicks.
Yes.
He's the last one. I don't think there's anybody else that's left.
He's the last one. They're all gone.
He is the last one. And he's somebody that I think can be wildly successful at his team. And I want him to be successful. And I want him to do all the great things. The more he's getting his game sea legs under him, the more he's producing. And his just presence alone makes things more stabilized on the defensive end. But you forget what he could do offensively too. He came out of the rehab with a little bit of an extra item in his bag. That little post-up turn layup. Okay, he's been working, and I appreciate that about him, that he came back with new stuff. And I think he's going to be a valuable asset when we get to April and May. I think it's still smart to keep him 20 max minutes, ease up on him and let him store up his powers for when they would need it the most. But what have you thought about Mitch's return?
When I see in the end of games, when those defensive possessions and it's Mitch, OG, Bridges, Deuce, and Josh Hart, and I'm like, yo, you can't call it the lineup of death because it only works on one side of the ball, but that is the $1 million dream lineup, because that lineup will put you in the $1 million dream, because they can switch everything. They can play drop. They can do hard shows. They can switch. I love that lineup, but obviously you're not going to see it in an extended period of time because they would have the 39th rated offense in the league of 30 teams. But listen, Mitchell Robinson's return gives this team flexibility and versatility. We saw the double big lineup against LA for a few minutes. Obviously, we've seen him. We've seen Mitch off the bench for Cat. These are options. That I'm sure Tom Thibodeau doesn't mind having. And again, it goes to that point you made earlier, Jeff, about adaptability. Now you can try certain things. Like we know Tibbs doesn't want to start two small guards, but or play two small guards for a extended period of time. But maybe you can play Josh and Josh. Maybe you could play Jalen and Deuce for extended periods of time if you have Mikal and OG and Mitch back behind them, right? So, and there may be instances, there may be matchups where that may work. There may be matchups where you say, okay, you know what? For 3 minutes, let me see if I can I'm going to sacrifice offense, but let me just put these dudes under our thumb for 3 minutes. So glad to have Mitch back.
For sure.
Fuck you, Joel Embiid, you punk bully bitch, because it should not have taken this long for him to come back.
Man, you want to talk about the karmatic effect of your sports actions. Woo, the 76ers, I don't even think they're on their second monkey paw. That's how crazy it is with them. But shout out to Quentin Grimes. Dallas, what the fuck are you doing? Yo, I saw Luka drop 40 plus on the Bucks in a 20-point blowout. And even then, I'm like, yo, this dude, Nico, must have been on his boogie nights with it. I don't care. I don't care if this man got 15 hookah endorsements, bro. You do not trade him. You don't. And then to the Lakers, what are we doing? They cannot keep getting away with this, but they do. It's like the Chiefs last year with them one possession wins. I said at some point, they cannot get away with this. And in the Super Bowl, they didn't because the Eagles just scored more points than them and smacked them from jump. It's just incredible. I saw somebody put together, it might have been Tommy Beer, I think, but he might have put together the all NBA first Nico didn't believe in me team, where it was Luka, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, Derrick Jones Jr., and Kristaps Porzingis. Bruh.
Dude, shout out to Dirty Dance in the chat who reminded us, not only did they trade Quentin Grimes, they added a pick.
Did you hear the Dallas owner that was at some summit?
Oh, bro.
Did you hear that talk?
Bro.
Fam, I was like, who are you trying to convince? Are you trying to convince us or are you trying to convince you? Because boy.
I mean, I've been on this for a while about the idea of James Dolan being the worst owner in the NBA ended a long time ago. But if you were still on that island, Patrick Dumont pushed you off of it because he is number one with a bullet. And again, Jeff, to the Lakers, the worst fan base in the NBA. These dudes were finished. They were done. Jeannie Buss even said it herself. We're just going to play the LeBron string out, see what we had of Anthony Davis, and now you got Laker fans, and again, like you say, not Laker fans from LA,
not
Laker
from
fans
LA,
from
Laker
Minnesota
fans.
and Detroit and Miami and Brooklyn. Now they're on the interwebs threatening, calling people out for they're skipping games so they can play us, and it was their game, and it was Jaylen Brown to play 46 minutes. And it's like,
welcome to being a Knicks fan. When everybody's ailments magically go away when it's time to play at Madison Square Garden. When they sit against the Nets on a back-to-back to play in the Garden the next day.
Yes.
When it's national TV, everything's getting healed. National TV is like the Tussin of sports injuries for NBA teams when they're about to face the Knicks. I don't care if you're questionable. It's like, such and such is questionable. They're playing. Patrick Dumont
is the governor of the Dallas Mavericks. He is number one with a bullet. Number two, quiet as kept, Jerry Reinsdorf. Because
Bulls?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, the only reason that franchise matters is because the Portland Trail Blazers took Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan. They've been a dumpster. They're a dumpster fire before, and they've been a dumpster fire since. And guess what? Since they got rid of Tom Thibodeau, I'm gonna shoot Tom some bail here. What have these clowns accomplished?
Play-in tournament.
Playing emeritus, them and the Hawks playing emeritus every year. They should get guaranteed spots like Juventus and Real won it for the Super League a few years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
I still will not forgive DeMar DeRozan for sending his daughter to school instead of bringing her to that Miami game. Yo, they had something. One day of school was not going to derail her. And I think she would be well off one way or another. She seemed like a very intelligent girl, bro. I think they said she had a test. I think you could make a call, DeMar. I think you could make a call.
To be fair, it was 3 days. It would have been 3 days of school because the first game was a Wednesday and the second game on Miami was a Friday. And it's kind of hard when you miss 3 days of school and literally everybody knows
why.
Are.
Yeah. It's nasty. It would be kind of nasty. But they would get into it. Well, was she going to school in Chicago? I think she was, right?
She was in Chicago, yeah.
Come on, bro. Come on. They got to have some team pride, bro. Like, we got to get Miami out of here. No, she should have went to the game. But I get it, DeMar. As a father, I get it. But fam, you should have brought to the game. All right, let's get to these last super chats. I'll scroll up first. Kev he's watching on delay, not Mekhi Phife. Yo, listen. I heard that lyric and I sat there. The first time I ever heard the "In Too Deep" like Mekhi Phife, I promise you, I sat there for 3 minutes and I said, Mekhi Phife is in Too Deep? Wait, that shit is the Mandela effect of rap, bro. I was like, yo, he is not. Is he? I had to look it up to make sure. And I was so confused. But I just have to remember, he is not in Too Deep. Just a fun fact. All right. A profound dream. First super chat. Thank you so much, fam. Thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you too, Kev.
Thank you.
What up, KFS fam? I will pay to put praise on Mitch. All the doubt on his value and impact always goes away the second he's on the court. That's a fact.
Yes, that's an absolute fact.
Like, I can't. You said it as well as I could say it. Is the fan base be up in arms about some Mitchell Robinson until Mitchell Robinson show up? That's why he be bitching on Snapchat. He be upset because y'all just do all of this and then y'all praise him when he's in the game.
I think the question is that the problem is he's not on the court as much as he would like. Now, again, the most recent spell is due to that punk bully bitch Joel Embiid. And I will apologize for saying fuck you. I shouldn't say that because I would not say that to his face. However, I would say to his face that you're a punk bully bitch for what you did to Mitchell Robinson. And shout out to and the Sixers fans who have Zapruder filming. I was like, it wasn't it because he grabbed this foot. Is it like go jump off a cliff? Yeah, exactly. Kiss my teeth. So
this dude became Kurt Angle. Whatever, man.
Yeah, listen, we love Mitch. I don't think anyone doubts his value on the court. It's just that he's not on the court as much as we'd want him to be.
100%. 100%. All right, let's get to a couple from Mr. Claudio, GMAC, before we get out of here. Pretend you're commissioner for a day. In the spirit of David Stern, what 8 first-round playoff matchups would you want to see happen solely for most entertaining? All right. Well, I'll go to the West because that's a little bit easier.
Question for Mr. Claudio. You can put this in the chat. Is it of playoff eligible teams, or can I, not for shits and giggles, say I want to see Washington and Toronto? Not that I would, but let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat.
Yeah, I'm assuming that these are teams within the playoff hunt.
Okay,
that's what
and things that are slightly realistic.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Well, first of all, shout out to the Wolves. They are now 7th They've jumped all the way up to 7th, and they're within a half game of the Warriors for that last playoff spot, guaranteed playoff spot. So that is cool. That's really dope.
They've won their last 11 games with some guy named Julius Randle in the lineup.
Hey,
shout out. Hi, Busy.
Try to tell you. Go look at West. It's lining up. Yes, realistically this year, go look at the West. It's lining up perfectly.
I'm looking
now. At it. Yep, same thing. You know what? I kind of like the way it's set up right now.
I'm all right.
Thunder Clippers first round. I think that would be kind of dope. You know, with the way the Clippers have played, they're relying on their defense. Everybody stay healthy. That could be a goodie. Grizzlies, Timberwolves. That's the YN Bowl. I need that. That's the YN Bowl. Nuggets, Warriors, I think would be fucking cinema. Nuggets, Warriors would be cinema. Lakers, Rockets is the only one. I mean, if you want, I would say Lakers, Warriors in the first round and Nuggets, Rockets.
Brother, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's what I would say. If we're talking solely on entertainment, because I think Nuggets Warriors will be a good series. But if you want entertainment, this might be. I feel like every year we say this might be the last time because LeBron is immortal. But yeah, this might be the last time we get a chance to get Steph versus LeBron in a 4-game playoff series. So I'd go Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets, Rockets.
So I wrote this out. I have the 1-8 is OKC and Phoenix. Because you want to talk about the last time is now. Like that might be Kevin Durant. It will be full circle for him because the first time they made the playoffs, they were an 8 seed. And they were the up and coming team against the old guard LA Lakers. And now he'll be going against not the old guard, but now he'd be going up against up and coming team who's the 1 seed against OKC.
I like your booking. Your booking. That's good booking.
I learned. I was watching this video about how Triple H and Shawn Michaels and the D Generation X in the 90s said they're going to run professional wrestling, and now they literally are running professional wrestling. That was my 1-8. 2-7. I have Grizzlies, Rockets. That's the YN Bowl.
That is definitely that's the big YN Bowl. That's the big YN Bowl. Hell yeah. That's the YN Bowl for real.
Lakers, Warriors, like you said, for obvious reasons. And then it's Nuggets.
Timberwolves?
T-Wolves. Yeah.
Oh, for the rematch?
Yeah, for the rematch. So that will be it. Now for the Eastern Conference, if we're talking about vibes. All right, so let me ask you this question. I know you gotta get out of here soon.
No, we good. We got enough. We got at least 5 to 10.
Okay, cool.
So let's run. Ask your question.
Which of the 2 playoff playing emeritus teams, Chicago and Atlanta, which one are we put? Actually, can we put them both? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna put them both in. Get Miami out of here. Actually,
Miami don't. I'm not trying to see no disrespect to Khalil Ware. Like no, I would kind of want to see Khalil Ware because he's crazy. Bam and who they got that like Jaime Jaquez is still on their team, right?
Allegedly.
Yeah, I feel like he ain't getting as much run. That might be purely anecdotal. Like I cannot for the life of me. But Tyler Hero's been bought. Orlando can't make it. Orlando, they're just too banged up. We're not trying to see that. Miami Magic got to get out of here. The Hawks have to because they are the official State Farm playing tournament team. So they just for political connects, they have to get in. Can the Bulls finally do it? Can the Bulls finally emerge from the play-in and get it? But remember, this is just for vibes. So if for vibes, they make for an interesting matchup. I think I know. I think I know where I want this to go.
Okay, so
I know where I want this to go.
So, all right. So 2 of them I have locked up.
Okay, what you got?
1-8 Cavs Magic, so the Cavs can put the Magic on their ass like they should have did last year and sweep them the hell out of here. Because a lot of people, they're all calling the Cavs frauds, and now it's like, all right, get them out of here, and then, whatever. And then the other one is Celtics Hawks, because the Hawks give the Celtics a warm effing time every time they play them, and I don't understand why. Actually, I kind of understand why. They like to play up and down with pace, whatever. So that will be an entertaining 6-game series. Plus the fact that the Celtics, who like, you think we like to play up our food? Good God Almighty, the Celtics do.
The Celtics hate to see they hate to see holding a 20-point lead coming.
Okay,
especially about that. So,
all right. So here's what. Okay, originally I had Knicks Pacers 4-5 for obvious reasons, and then I had Bucks Pistons in the 3-6. But then I thought to myself, what if we had Pacers Pistons throwback to the early 2000s?
Mouse in the Palace.
And listen, they already got Isaiah Stewart, so he's already there. Shout out to Kev on stage. He said every time you see an Isaiah Stewart highlight, he never has the ball in his hand. Never. Ever.
Yeah,
So
every highlight is just goonish activity.
Yes. And then if you have Pacers Pistons 4-5, you have Bucks Knicks in the 3-6. Us versus Giannis and Dame. That will be good cinema. We honestly we get them out of here in 5. No, we get them in 6 because Giannis will win a game by himself.
Giannis and Dame are good for 2 games. Giannis and Dame are good for 2. Like, they'll figure something out. But yeah, I like that. I was gonna say Cavs Hawks, just because I feel like that would be interesting hoops. And like Trey versus like the way their guards and all of that matchup, I feel like it would just be for stylistically. But if we're talking about straight booking, like fantasy booking, I love where you're going with Cavs Magic. Like the Pacers Pistons throwback, like that Mouse at the Palace throwback is good. But I kind of like Bucks Pacers because there's legit heat between the two. Remember Giannis's 50-point game or whatever that they stole the ball. Someone's game that they stole the ball and Giannis was running into the Pacers locker room trying to get the rock back. So they have like legit heat against each other. And I was like, Knicks, honestly, if we want to do throwbacks, I might go Celtics Pistons and then Knicks Hawks in the first round.
But shit, I forgot about Knicks Hawks. I would love to put them in a spliff.
Yeah, like, Knicks Hawks, Celtics Pistons. So we get the throwback. We can fire up NBA TV and NBA films and whatnot and get that. So if we talking about classic rivalries and stuff, Celtics Pistons, and I feel like Celtics Pistons would be interesting. I like your Celtics Cavs. I just think if I'm just fantasy booking just to do something different than you did.
Actually, so I had Cavs Magic and I had Celtics Hawks. I actually would take out Knicks Hawks and then Celtics Heat just to watch Eric Spoelstra piss them off one good time. And all the Black Magic, like, oh my God, we found this dude from Kroger and now he shoots 40% from 3.
Bro, there is a cashier at Pollo Tropical that is ready to drop 10-5 for Spo in per 36 in the playoffs, and we just don't know it yet. It's very different. So yeah, like you got Celtics. There's a lot. The last 3 or 4 years have built up good rivalries and rebuilt rivalries in the East. So yeah, I like those fantasy matchups. Thank you for the question, Andrew. I think that's really dope. And he was adding on it. West could potentially be OKC Clippers, Denver Wolves, Lakers Warriors, and Memphis Houston. This is perfect. Curious of what you would want to see.
Two things. One, Andrew, you're right. We don't have to drop the Knicks to 4. They can Pacers, Knicks, or Hawks, Knicks can happen in 3-6. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Grizzlies, Rockets. It will be on NBA TV, but it will be amazing.
That's definitely the NBA. Oh my God, that is. Listen, you want to talk about NBA TV Super Bowl, Memphis Rockets, boy, oh boy, we getting my guys, Grant Hill and Sam Mitchell, they gonna be going crazy. Greg Anthony gonna be going nuts, bro. Like I'm telling you, it's gonna be really dope to see that. But yeah, man. So Warriors Knicks tomorrow. You want to talk about sagas? If you are inclined to sports bet, and this is not financial advice, please gamble responsibly. I would seriously consider finding a way to put money on Cat plus 40 or Cat 40 plus or ladder it 30, 35, 40, because I have a feeling there's going to be a point made. I hope there is a point made.
I will say this. First of all, if you to anyone here, make sure you watch that game with me and Andrew and John at T Square Social on 42nd Street between 5th and Madison Avenue in New York City. So check that out. Come buy me a beer. Listen, Cat either got 40 or he's got 3. What I would like to bet is how many fouls PJ Tucker has. If I see PJ Tucker the scores table, we know what time it is. And
drop
Tibbs
the gloves.
Tibbs is a New York legend.
Yo, you talk about the fourth. They bringing the fourth line in, Shawn. If PJ Tucker comes in, that's the fourth line.
That's the fourth. That's the fourth line. That is U.S. Canada. Drop the gloves. Let's go. Yes. Oh, by the way, we're having trivia at 7:30. Make sure you pull up for that. But yeah. That game, listen, what we don't want is to let that we don't want to let that beat us. We don't want to get caught up in Draymond. Now you want to talk about a punk bully bitch. Draymond Green is because funny thing is when Isaiah Stewart was yapping at Steph Curry the other day, you know who I did not see in the picture? Draymond Green. So let's talk about that. But listen, man, win the game. When the best elixir is winning. Now, if they can win and PJ Tucker can put Draymond in the pedigree, that will be amazing. But win the game and also if we can listen, there are 2 nominees for MSG West. It's either Staples or it's Chase Center. If we can win and have Let's Go Knicks in Chase Center, that would be the best remedy. That would be the best remedy for this situation. Because again, Draymond Green is an asshole and he deserves ice cream smash in his face.
Yeah, shout out to Shawn, who is the official new arena naming head of all the MSGs, as he has put in his tweet. Brooklyn is MSG East, Philadelphia is Wells Fargo Garden, Washington is MSG Capital District, Charlotte is MSG South with an F, Orlando's Walt Disney Garden, Atlanta's MSG South with a TH, and Miami is MSG South Beach, and Portland is MSG Northwest. I'd like to make a friendly amendment to Charlotte. Instead of calling them MSG South, call them the MSG Hive. Because I think MSG Hive would be fucking crazy. MSG, that is my friendly amendment. Super friendly. I'm good with South because South is hilarious. But MSG Hive, I feel like, Charlotte, I don't know if Charlotte deserves that. Charlotte Hornets fan base, I don't know if they deserve that, but it would be hilarious as hell.
Well, I'll ask CT Pittman. What should we name? Because he lives in Charlotte. What should we name Spectrum Center? Should it be MSG South or MSG High? Maybe I'll start a poll. By the way, I have no idea how that tweet blew up. I looked at it this morning and it had 2,300 likes. I was like, oh,
it be happening. It's just right place, right time, bro. It was a dope tweet. Or the Hive at Madison Square Garden.
Yo, that's it.
The Hive at Madison Square Garden, bro.
That's it.
The Hive at Madison Square Garden. All right, Shawn. Warriors upcoming, and then the Heat on Monday. Respect me because this is off the top of the dome. I swear I'm Andrew Claudio right now with the with the photographic memory.
I got it here.
Run it.
At Golden State Saturday, Monday at home for the Heat, Wednesday at San Antonio, then Thursday at Charlotte before Saturday at home for Washington.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'd love 5. I think I'm expecting 4-1. I'm expecting, honestly, maybe if the Heat come back with like some anger from the way they lost the last game, maybe. But I feel like getting at least 4 of these would bode well from them. They have to finish 8 and 9 of the rest of the way to get 50 wins.
So I tweeted this earlier. I would gladly sign up for 3-2. For 2 reasons. One, the Warriors game is the 5th game of a 5-game road trip. Even though they've had 2 days off, usually the 5th game of a 5-game road trip, you just want to go home. And I remind everybody that remember that Hornets game on Black Friday when they didn't have LaMelo and they didn't have He Who Shall Not Be Named, they didn't have Nick Richards, and then the Knicks won by 1. And everyone thought it was going to be a walkover. That was the 5th game of a 5-game road trip. A 5th game of a 5-game
1 p.m. game too.
And that on Black Friday. And remember when we beat the mess out of the Nuggets last season? The Nuggets, 5th game of 5-game road trip. I saw the Hornets almost beat the Nuggets this year because the Nuggets on the 5th game of 5-game road trip. So there's that. And then that. Speaking of Charlotte, that Charlotte game is a rolled back-to-back. And their 3rd game of 4 nights. So they're going to be home from Miami, then they're going to go to San Antonio, and then they play in Charlotte the next day. So again, schedule losses are a thing. I will gladly sign up for 3-2.
Exactly. I definitely would too. I'd love to see 4. I want to see this team win 50 games. I want to see them get refreshed, and I want to see them develop some new skills without JB, who seems like he's still on track to come back sometime in April. I think he's going to come back before the playoffs. As long as he comes back 100%, because I've been asking for this team to get to the playoffs with everybody relatively healthy so that you could finally see what a healthy Knicks team in the playoffs can do for a whole playoff stretch. So I hope that happens. And I hope they stay healthy in the playoffs. How about that? I'd love that. I would actually appreciate that. Shawn with a W, tell the people where they can find you.
Before we do that, we got one more super chat.
I said it. I was like, oh, well, it's out of my mouth. Repeat. Tibbs has to understand the emotional toll first year Knicks go through. Thank you so much, Parrish. Once again, I appreciate you. That along with 43 minutes a game takes a toll out of a Cat and Bridges, and it shows. I don't think you're going to get any pushback here, man. I just, one thing about his statement is that I understood it schematically. It made sense logically, but I can also push back and say Jason Tatum and LeBron James play on 2 separate teams. There ain't a bunch of Jason Tatums and LeBron Jameses walking around. I remember the game. Who did the Knicks play against? The Wizards. The game after Brunson dropped like that 50-60 burger on their head. Mm-hmm. He played like the whole game against them. Against the Wizards in DC last year.
Yes.
40-something minutes where it's like, yo, you know what, fam? This is one of those games where if y'all lose to the Wizards, y'all lose to the Wizards, dog. Like, he should not have to overtax himself. And the Wizards did not have Jason Tatum or LeBron James or even Jaylen Brown. They didn't have none of them. So if that is the strategy against the high-level teams, I throw my hands up. I hear that. But against the majority of the league, I don't think that's necessary. And real talk, if you have that personnel, then maybe you should find ways to win without having to follow that baseline strategy.
Absolutely.
That's just what
from me.
All right, Shawn. Now I think we're clear of the super chats, and thank y'all so much, everybody who tapped in with us and contributed. We appreciate you locking in with us. Shawn, where can the people find you?
You can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Shawn _. The underscore is very important. You could also catch me on Blue Sky at that same name. And on the app formerly known as Twitter, you can catch me every so often in the Hoop Spaces Twitter space that happens Monday through Friday from 10 to 12 noon. And you can also catch me on KFS Study Hall weekends, usually Sundays, unless they're playing on Sunday, on Twitter Spaces. That's me and a combination of Chris Persiani and Menta Smith, where we recap the week that was, and then we watch Robert Cross and Kevin Danishevsky throw feces at each other about their takes. So pull up.
Yes, sir. Jeff J says all social media. You see the name, you will see me. Also on YouTube, also on NBA.com, doing highlights and NBA top 10s, and on your favorite Turner networks as well. So thank you for the support. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for locking in the Casual Fridays. Thank you for being a part of the Knicks Film School community. Subscribe if you want more. There's a ton more where that came from, including the KFS Patreon, where you get exclusive film sessions, access to town halls, extra pods, and a whole bunch of other bells and whistles that you'll only know about if you join. And I think it's worth the money that you're going to be spending. Multiple tiers. Check it out. Check out Knicks Film School. And as we always say, if you love what you're feeling here, tell a friend to tell a friend. Share this link. Share it with more Knicks fans or basketball fans. You get great talk here and a variety of perspectives. Thank you so much for locking in. This has been Casual Fridays. Shawn is there. I'm here. And you are amazing. Until next week, you already know the vibes. Go Knicks.
250